and why we've developed some capabilities in this area, why it's relevant, give you a little view of the market as we see it, some challenges as we've spoken to customers over time, talk about Prism OneView, and finally end with a customer success story. And as Andrea said, feel free to ask questions throughout. My colleague Ronnie Holland will do his best to answer your questions as we're going along here as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So who is Aero Systems Integration? We are part of Aero Electronics. Aero Electronics is a Fortune 138 company headquartered out of Inglewood, Colorado. We have locations worldwide and with over $22 billion in sales. The company's been around for 80 years, and really the company started in the components business. Think about resistors, capacitors, and the first store was actually in New York. And for any of you who are tinkerers, you probably know Aero Electronics from those days, not from 80 years ago, I presume, but you're familiar with Aero. And today the company really has sort of four major business lines. The first one is components, and the global components organization really is focused on the components that make the systems. And again, we have relationships with suppliers all around the world, and we provide these components. We also have the capability to do the designs and the complete solutions, and that's where our OEM Computing Solutions, or OCS, organization comes in. The OEM Computing Solutions really is sort of a sister organization, if you will, that can take the components, work with customers to understand the problems that they have and build out the solutions, whether it's a point-of-sale terminal, an ATM, kiosks, whatever it may be. We design and build these solutions. At the same time, Aero also has a large footprint in the enterprise data center business, and that's the enterprise computing system. So anything that goes in a data center, servers, storage, virtualization, security, cloud, analytics, all of that is part of ECS, and so they distribute that. And the sort of the analog to that is, excuse me, I lost my presentation, is the Aero Systems Integration. So we take those things and we solve the customer problem. So we work with customers to create and provide the solutions to their problems. So let's take a closer look at Aero Systems Integration. Founded in 1974, the company is headquartered in Irving, Texas, and we have over 1,000 employees in North America, with over 10,000 customers and 6 million plus ports under managed service. And we have deep expertise in Avaya, Microsoft, Cisco, and really a focus on building out our own products with Prism products. And as we look at the world today, we think about it not in terms of vendors, but we think about it in terms of your problems and how we can help you solve them. And we look at it from a full stack perspective, and it's when we look at that full stack, it's not necessarily a full stack from a single vendor, but it's really understanding the best of what's out there and how we can leverage that to solve your problems. Starting at the data center and the server layer, the virtualization, the storage, the security that is essential to any enterprise application today, and layering the UC and the contact center applications, regardless of the vendor, understanding, again, how those fit into your environment. Our Prism products are really here to address the gaps that we see in the vendor solutions, and that's one of the reasons we're going to talk about Prism OneView today, and then ultimately custom solutions. And we wrap that with a set of services, from our advisory services to our managed and learning services. that are really focused on, again, providing a complete solution to you. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about the growing complexity of unified communications. You know, a unified communication system is like a car. When you think about a car, there's a lot happening under the hood. You don't necessarily think about it when you start driving, but if one of those lights goes off on the dashboard, you know you have to do something, whether that's a low tire pressure or a check engine light, whatever it may be. You know, that gives you some visibility into what's happening with your car, and ultimately you go and you get that problem addressed, whether that's putting more air in your tires, going to the dealer and having them check out what's going on with your car. And you know, that visibility gives you the control to operate your car efficiently and effectively. And a UC system really is pretty similar, except that you don't necessarily have the right dashboards, the right visibility that allow you to understand what's going on, to give you that control, and ultimately manage, you know, your UC system effectively. And we see that because you know, the challenge that enterprises have today, and this is from Gartner and the you know, in terms of CIO spending priorities, you can see that analytics and business intelligence has topped the list for the last 4 years. What that tells us is that businesses are struggling with understanding the massive amounts of data that are available to them, but they're unable to act on them. And you know, whether that's, you know, that data by itself, whether that's coupled with applications that sit in their data center, all of that combined becomes a business priority for you and your enterprise. So what we're hearing as we talk to customers is, you know, they're having a tough time keeping up. You know, businesses go through a lot of change constantly. It could be mergers and acquisitions. It could be, you know, changes in locations, different, the M&A leads to a more complex environment than anyone envisioned with multi-vendor systems, and isolating issues on these in these environments becomes challenging. Providing the right service level, and while, you know, non-real-time media like email and chat and SMS are growing in popularity, voice is still, you know, the heart of how we communicate. And you know, you can't have a bad voice connection and operate your business. So it's really about understanding what you have in your environment. Speaking to a customer recently where they're going through some changes in their organization, and again, they don't know what they have in their environment. And that is really the starting point. They have a lot of different tools. They don't know how to use them effectively. You know, a lot of finger pointing as telecom and IT and network people try to work together to troubleshoot. And you throw in multi-vendor, and it takes weeks, if not months, to get to the root cause of some tricky problems. So again, these are the kinds of challenges that we're hearing from our customers as we engage with them. And to drill it down, really, it's what you need is relevant data that help you isolate problems, understand what you have in your environment. Is it up to date? Is it you know, is it compatible with everything else in your environment? Number two is with the diversity of tools and the diversity of your environment, how do you manage it effectively? And number three is, you know, people don't have time to spend days or weeks or months tracking down issues. So where possible, automatically resolve problems. And if they cannot automatically resolve them, you know, provide the right information, the right insight to allow people to go in and get the information to solve the problem. let's talk about Prism OneView. What is Prism OneView? So Prism OneView is an IT service management solution, which allows you to get that visibility and control that we talked about earlier into your UC and contact center environment. And once you have that visibility and control, you can now pinpoint the issues, you can resolve the problems quickly, and ultimately reduce your costs. OneView provides you the applications for managing that complete environment, right? Whether it's from your data center and understanding what's happening at the data center level to unified communications from a variety of vendors, and I'll dive deeper into that in a minute, to the desktop, to mobile devices, and we deliver that with a software as a service model. Showed some of this information, but we have over 79,000 active customer sites, and over 10,000 of them are managed sites. And we have, over 6 million ports that are managed with OneView today. So while there are 1 million plus addressable alarms, most of them are auto-remediated, and the ones that need to be addressed by our managed services team, they leverage OneView to triage and resolve the issue quickly. So what are some of the benefits of OneView? I really think about three key benefits. Number one is visibility. This is a big problem for many organizations. Your UC systems may have been put in place over the years, lots and lots of changes, and ultimately you really don't know exactly how things are configured, how they're connected, what are the network regions, what's the current firmware of on all the phones, the gateways, the servers, are they up to date, things like that. Being able to document that becomes a really important starting point to figure out what you need to do. So once you have that visibility, you can now start proactively addressing some of those issues, whether that's updating some of the software or deciding that you need to do something different in terms of the information that you see. And that visibility also gives you information that allows you to resolve your problems quickly. Last but not least is optimization. And optimization in this sense is really about understanding what resources are being used if in your environment. You may have started off with a certain size organization, and you may have had people leaving the organization. It may be a different size than it is. With some customers, we've done some ROI analysis, and we've seen savings of over $1 million in the first year by using OneView. So the optimization efforts, the insight that the application gives you, coupled with the efforts that you could undertake to actually act on it, could save you a lot of money, and that investment could then be used in different parts of the business. So let's kind of take a look at OneView. OneView is built on the ITIL or IDLE service desk philosophy. So the IDLE foundation really says, you got to start with the service desk. The service desk is all about giving you information for managing your users, managing those escalations, the change requests, and ultimately it's about transparency into what's happening into your in your environment. Number two is availability manager or availability, and this is about monitoring your service, monitoring for alarms, alerts, and automatically resolving those where possible. And if you can't resolve them, generating the incident or the ticket into your service desk so that somebody can act on it. Number three is the capacity manager. Getting the real-time historical capacity information for forecasting of required resources. Again, we talked about this earlier, where you have you have changes in your organization, are you optimally using the trunks? What about licenses? Are you over licensed, under licensed? Getting that visibility is important. The configuration manager is really giving you a view of all your UC assets. You know, where are they located? How are they connected? The voice quality management is giving you that view to help you diagnose and troubleshoot your most vexing, you know, voice quality issues. We've all been through this, right? Somebody complains about having an issue with voice quality, and they don't give you a whole lot of information. With OneView, you can drill down. You can understand both ends of the conversation very quickly. You can figure out whether it was at the application layer, the network layer, what was happening in terms of latency, jitter. All that information is captured by OneView that allows you to then diagnose and address that voice quality issue. There's also capabilities that allow you to tune the settings in your system to ensure that you know, you can optimize the voice quality in the environment. The continuity manager is really about collecting the key information, storing the data for disaster recovery. Again, we don't expect them, but we always have to plan for them, and the continuity manager keeps that information securely in the cloud to give you that peace of mind. Release manager allows software version control. It basically allows you to run a variety of reports so that you understand where you are for all parts of your communications infrastructure. Are you up to the right release? And you know, that risk is not just hey, someone's running the wrong piece of software, but it's making sure that you decrease your support costs by having people use that same the same software release on the phones, for example, or on the gateways, or potentially you know, mitigating risks due to security as patches are released, and some of them are more important than others, and making sure everybody is running the right thing, so you're not opening your organization to undue risk. And last but not least is change manager. Understanding all the changes that are made. There's an audit trail so that you can understand what changes were made by whom, and you can always use that to then back out of some changes that may have been made, or further diagnose why somebody made that change. Again, these are, you know, the OneView is built on the ITIL foundation, and IT organizations around the world are embracing this philosophy as they start running the operations on their UC and CC systems today. So what OneView does is it addresses the top customer UC and CC challenges, the diagnostics around fault management, capacity, voice quality. You know, these are the things that we hear from our customers. Helping you guys become a little more productive, getting you the right information, the right reports, whether you want to go in and look at it, or whether they're, you know, emailed to you or to the right person on the team as certain types of events occur. First-time resolution, so that again, you're not spending you know, countless amount of time trying to track down problems. Understanding that, you know, sometimes alarms happen and they keep repeating those alarms, stacking those alarms and counting them, rather than you know, muddying the waters with repeated alarms about the same issue. The ability to again, prioritize those becomes important. A configuration management database. This is again, you know, the foundation and the starting point around the IT information library, or the ITIL foundation, and again, capturing that information and making it available to you. And last but not least is proactive resolution. So notification, alerts as issues happen, and giving you the historical trending, the historical information that you can then leverage to make sure that you can alter your processes or change how things are done to ensure that you can stay ahead of these things. So how does Prism OneView work? We've talked about it. There's a product component to Prism OneView and a service component to Prism OneView. So let me step you through that. Imagine you're an Avaya customer today, and you have Avaya Aura. We deploy a premise-based agent that sits on a server, and this is a pretty sort of standard server. It's not a high-end server by any means. So you have that agent that is collecting the alarms, collecting the statistics, but and also doing the discovery. So once it's implemented, it starts doing an auto discovery. It understands everything that's happening, how everything's connected in your network, and it basically says, this is the configuration as it stands today. So that goes into OneView. We take those alarms and we push them into our ServiceNow instance. So ServiceNow is our service desk of OneView, and we use this to manage all the incidents and manage all our customers. So the ServiceNow incidents are available to you as a customer in your customer portal. And OneView also gives you all that information that we talked about around configuration, capacity, release, availability. All the tools, all the reports are all available to you through your customer portal. You log in through a browser, and you have access to all this information. So from your perspective, it's a pretty light implementation. It simply requires you to make sure that the right network information is provided and the right ports are open. And again, it's not onerous. And once you implement it, it's pretty quick to get going. A different customer may have a different environment. They may have come from a heritage Nortel world where they have, Avaya Aura today, but they also have a CS1000, and they happen to have a Sonos SBC. And OneView allows us to do the same thing. Again, collect all that information around the alarms, the stats, the discovery, push the alarms through to ServiceNow. The incidents get created in ServiceNow, and you have access to all that information that we talked about earlier, for that environment. Or it could be a Microsoft Lync environment. It could be a Lync environment that's standalone, or it could be a Lync environment in addition to your Avaya Aura environment. And similar thing, right? We're pulling the information. We push it to the OneView cloud. We make it available to you via portal, and we manage the incidents through ServiceNow. And again, the capabilities of OneView, we've talked about our multi-vendor. So we work with a variety of vendors: Cisco, NEC, Unify, Acme Packet for their SBC, Mitel, Data Center, in addition to Avaya, both Avaya Aura, IP Office, CS1000, Microsoft Lync, Microsoft Skype for Business. So we really cover the whole gamut as it relates to the unified communications and contact center infrastructures that you have in your environment. Finally, as part of this, there's a managed service that we offer, which basically can manage all the alarms. We can go in and resolve those issues as they come up. So depending upon your maintenance agreement, your desire to to solve the problems either yourself or leverage on us as the experts, you have options of using those managed services or just using the application to give you more control. You know, even if you have our managed services, you still have access to all the information, and that transparency is important so you understand what's happening, but you know that you've got the backing of Aero Systems Integration to resolve those issues. Let's take a look at some dashboards here that are generated from the tool. You know, visualization is key for any real-time dashboard. There's a drag and drop, and it's very easy to get the right information, watch the status of the environment. So in this case, we've selected AES to show us processor, memory, and disk utilization. We have visibility not only in the server, but you know, the application and the current server status. So it can you can be assured that you know, you have all that information in your contact center environment. In this case, it's AES. You also have a CMS server health. Again, understanding the you know, the processor usage, the processor occupancy, understanding when the backups were done, if there were any issues, if they failed for any reason, understanding that you can see what endpoints are registered in your environment, and what is it relative to the historical average. If it falls off the average, you know there may be a problem, and you can start looking into that and trying to diagnose and resolve that before you know, somebody starts calling you and saying, hey, you know, there's a problem here. And again, within a contact center environment, having this level of visibility is really important, because now it allows you to you know, be ahead of your contact center staff in terms of making sure that that critical lifeline of the business is always up and running. Let's take a look at the next dashboard. You know, the DS1 alarms. Avaya will flag this as a minor issue, and we know that your business really depends upon having those circuits up and running for all the external communications. OneView has that flexibility to customize the alarms and change the color coding, so you can say, you know, this may be a minor problem for somebody else, but this happens to be a major problem for me. You can customize this on a you know, per alarm and per user basis, which is really helpful. Voice quality management. Again, these are some of the most complex issues that people have in their environment. All the finger pointing that goes on. Hey, that's not my problem, or it looks fine from my end. And you know, your customers, your company, your employees are complaining about, you know, choppy calls, or hey, I didn't quite get that. I'm hearing every other word you said. And you know, with the voice quality manager, the module within OneView, we show you the call path, the hops, the MOS scores, so you can pinpoint the failures and you can get to the root cause of what's happening. And you can ultimately even get to, you know, addressing the issue before end users even, you know, start opening up tickets. And that's the level of proactive nature that OneView can enable you. And we're seeing this with many customers where they're leveraging this to really reduce the inbound tickets into their service desk. And finally, the last one that we want to look at is historical voice quality management under availability. So not only do we give you that real-time view of the voice quality metrics, but also we store this information and give you the ability to analyze this over time to see, hey, is there an issue that occurred that somehow didn't catch my eye? If something like that did happen, how do I go and, you know, dig into that, make sure I have the right information, and ultimately resolve that issue so that it doesn't become an issue say come, Monday morning. So let's talk about a customer success story here. The customer, and unfortunately we're not at liberty to disclose the name, is a large multinational customer. And again, we talked about the rapid deployment earlier. Really very minimal commitment from the customer, some basic login information to their UC and CC infrastructure, some dedicated rack space for the server appliance, and lastly, a data connection. Once we had this information, the OneView deployment was completed in hours and not days. And again, this is leveraging the power of the cloud to get you up and running quickly. Within the first 24 hours, we had as-built schematics automatically generated, and this is not a one-time event. These schematics are generated and then they are kept updated so that as changes are made to your system, you have a catalog of all the system changes and the schematics associated with them. And these are really, really helpful to help you understand what's happening in your environment. For instance, I have a screenshot of a vector within your CC Elite environment, and it tells you, the steps that are taken and gives you that visual view of it. It documents all your vectors. It tells you when certain vectors are either not traversed or certain steps are not traversed, or if there are issues with it. And again, at a glance view of what's happening in the environment. And if you've had your call center environment for a while, you know that you have lots and lots of vectors. Lots of them are unused. Lots of them are underutilized or have paths that are not traversed. And optimizing that, again, gives you some of that resource that you can then either leverage for new flows or make sure that the customer experience is optimal. So once we had the system running for 24 hours, we identified all the assets. There were over 8,000 assets in 65 locations across 5 continents, 160 trunk groups, over 8,000 stations, 12 port networks, 75 media gateways, 68 with an LSP, and we have every IP address, MAC address, serial number, software, and firmware version captured and documented. And when you think about this challenge, just what you got within the first day, that's tough. That's tough to get all that information. And as the old saying goes, you can't improve if you can't measure. And the first step is establishing that baseline. And OneView gives you that ability to get that visibility. Number 2 is really identify the pre-existing issues and create a remediation plan. So again, with this customer, after running it for a few days, we discovered incorrect configuration, some faulty hardware, out-of-date software, and some network issues. 212 major alarms. There were some repeating alarms that were caused by improper configuration. Some of the media gateways had incorrect timer settings, which caused deregistration. And you guys know that when media gateways deregister, that causes a cascading set of issues for end users, potentially. And there were 8 media processors that had improper NIC card settings that were causing voice over IP issues. Again, intermittent issues, but because OneView went in and captured all this information and made it available, the customer was able to get in front of them and address those and improve the experience. And there were 7 hardware items that were identified and ultimately resolved. So the customer worked with us to make sure that their firmware and software was up to date. there were some major updates and upgrades that were also required, and a lot of these things were, put in as a separate project, and we engaged with the customer to make sure that they were up to date. And so again, with that visibility, you have the ability now to manage and control your environment that you don't always have. You don't know what to fix. If you know what to fix, you can always fix it. And then, the last one is about optimization. And within the first 2 days, because we started capturing every piece of information, we started seeing how the bandwidth was being utilized, the trunk utilization, the license utilization. We started getting a view of all of that. And as you gather this information, you start understanding, hey, am I underutilized? Am I overutilized? And once you figure that out, you figure out whether there's room for optimization. For instance, do I have too many trunks? People's calling patterns change, and as they change, let's say, for instance, you've deployed Session Manager and you're routing most of your calls, on net, but at one point you probably were going out to the PSTN for all calls. Now you have the ability to reduce some of those trunks coming in and drive some tangible savings. Understand that there's contracts associated with those, and those won't be contracts you can terminate or change right away. But now you have the ability to go in and make some of those changes. Maybe you've deployed audio conferencing, and you went from an off-premise to an on-premise audio conferencing solution like Aura Conferencing. And you now have the ability to, again, keep those calls on net where possible, and again, drive additional savings. And it's putting all this together and having that information then helps you ultimately optimize your environment and drive savings. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm sure this was just in fact, I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more here I would love to share with you. And if you want to learn more, contact your account executive directly. If you don't have one, we're here to help. Call us. Our number's listed on the page here. And also visit on our website. I've provided a short link there that you can copy and paste in your browser, or when you get the presentation, you'll also have access to that link. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time, and we'll take any questions that you have.
Okay, we've got a couple questions, and I will ask them in the order they were received. We have a question from early in the presentation that was a question for you, Ashish, and it says, do you have any capability to provide usage reports by employee, by mode of communication, video, text message, phone call, screen sharing, etc., similar to the old call accounting reports we used to get from Avaya and Nortel PBX reports? I will post that question in the chat if that's helpful.
No, I got the gist of the question. And at a per user, per application, we don't do that today, but that is definitely a part of our roadmap because we see the importance of understanding that information to, again, drive the right user behavior on one hand. Call accounting is important, but it's also about driving user behavior and adoption.
Okay, and then we have a question as well. Does OneView provide visibility for voice quality issues down to the station ID of digital stations, or only for IP stations and MedPros?
So this is Ronnie. I'll answer that one. It comes in. It's visibility from the MedPros and the IP infrastructure. Digitals don't put out what's the RTCP information about that in order to be able to measure that. So it will show, now if a digital phone picks up the phone that uses an IP trunk, it will show that IP hop and it will tell us what the VQM statistics are on it, but not to the digital set level. Because you really don't experience the issue there as much as it is, or if you are experiencing the issue on the digital set, it's because you were on a VoIP trunk.
Okay. And we've got another one here. Can you show us the trending portion that you mentioned in slide 16 as proactive resolution?
Ronnie, can you answer this?
Yeah, bear with me. I'm getting there. So
you want to hop back to slide 16 on your presentation, just
sure.
for reference?
So could you repeat the question, please?
Can you show us the trending portion that you mentioned in slide 16 as proactive resolution?
So if you'll scroll down to a couple of other slides that we have in the presentation, if you want to get over to slide, specifically if we take a look at slide number 21 and 22. So to kind of give you an example here from a voice quality manager perspective, I mean, what it does is it's showing you real-time statistics right now from a VQM perspective. So what we do is that we take all this information and we store it because, you know, you might look at this and go, okay, this is cool, I've got it for the moment. All of a sudden everything's looking good because it's all green. But then if you got someone that's calling in saying, hey, you know what, I'm popping up with some issues right here. If you'll take a look at what we put on slide 22, we put in there the historical information. So it allows us to go back and input a station ID and or an IP address to go back and pull the historical data on what's been taking place, so you can go back and do a trending analysis to say, hey, every time this user hits this specific piece of the IP hop, I have a bad call. We have so much to show in here and so little time to show it. You know, we would love to sit back and actually go through a full demonstration with your organization.
Do we have any additional questions? Anyone? We'll give you a last call here on questions, but I'm sure if anything comes up as you're thinking about it or reviewing the slide deck, Ronnie or Ashish or anyone on our team would be happy to answer any additional questions. At that, last call at that, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you all for attending, and you can expect a follow-up email with the link to the recording and the slide deck. So thank you all, and thanks Ashish, and thanks Ronnie, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining today.